Okay, everyone, let's start and fire away. Jon Wuebben has joined me today. Jon, welcome.
Thanks, Byron. Great to be here.
Right on. Jon is making his second batting appearance from the bullpen out there with this fabulous webinar. We're going to dive into a hot topic right now. We've had a lot of great response for this webinar. A lot of people are excited about it, and we're going to dive in. Let me tell you a couple things about today's agenda. For starters, my name is Byron White. I'm the founder of Idea Launch, and I've been running this monthly content marketing webinar for quite some time. And this is issue number 37, actually. And we're going to basically invite everyone listening in to ask questions to us both. At the end of the presentation, Jon and I are both going to go through about a 15 or 20-minute slideshow deck here. Both Jon's deck and my deck will be available, as well as a recording of this webinar and links to your free 101 Content Marketing Tips book. Not Jon's book, though. You have to buy that book, right, Jon?
That's right.
But I'm sure Jon's got plenty of things on his website, Content Launch, that are available to you to download if you want some free stuff. So without further ado, I invite everyone to ask your questions along the journey here, and I'll get to those at the end and facilitate questions for both Jon and myself. I'm going to go through my deck initially here, and then after Jon goes through his deck, I'm going to basically go through some actual live demonstrations if that is of interest to people. So without further ado, we're going to start here in 1 second. My colleague is telling me to shut something here, my little window. So I think we're okay now. Hopefully we are. So without further ado, let me chime into this presentation. So I'm going to go through about 10 super quick slides that I'll speed through, and then I'm going to actually show people today what an actual full-blown content plan looks like, what its purpose is, and what some of the challenges are and problems really with putting together these full-blown content plans. And then we're going to dive into what I believe is a simple, easy way to plan your upcoming content and drive results with some new technology that we've built that I think is just really launching today officially in beta, and we're inviting any and all people to get a free trial of this and to try it out and kick the tires and see if it can help them with their content marketing efforts. So very exciting stuff that we're going to go through. So real quick, I begin all these webinars with the following, and I'm going to literally speed through these. So we probably by now understand what content marketing is, but I think it's important to always come back to some of these fundamentals. It's clearly the art of listening to your customers' wants and needs. And by the way, that is the hardest thing to do in today's marketing bullpen, if you will. How do you understand what your customers' wants or needs are? And they're, of course, probably changing all the time as they move down through the funnel. So I'm really excited about some new things that I've heard about in the marketplace with how to do that, and we'll look for some advances there in the marketplace. And of course, it's the science of delivering content in a compelling way, and we're all sort of transforming our businesses into becoming almost old school publishers. The difference is we have many new channels to find our way to delivering that content, and that's what's exciting. And of course, catching customers that are orbiting at high speeds. We can do that in a variety of ways these days, and of course with information they want and need, and that's where, of course, core elements of content marketing come into play. It's testing campaigns, A/B testing, multivariate testings. I'll be speaking out at Tim Ash's conference in a couple months out in San Francisco. I love that conference, and I always get a great response there. People want to hear what's happening, what's happening in the content world. I'm excited about that presentation. And of course, it's finding the most efficient path to engagement. And believe me, guys like me have wasted a lot of money spending money on content to try to reach customers and writers that are on the phone right now. And it's hard to do, and you need to find an efficient way to do that. And of course, finally, it's following a process that delivers the results and tracking the performance, which we're going to get into today a little bit. So let's dive into a content plan. So what does a content plan really offer you in the end of the day? And content marketing, of course, in content planning particularly, is a relatively new sport, I'd like to describe it. Not many, agencies out there understand the real secrets and and strategy behind developing a content plan. So let me kind of walk you through what that's all about. Here's a typical table of contents for a content plan. Back when IdeaLaunch was more focused on full-service agency work, like Jon now does for customers, the challenges are trying to really help a customer understand how much content do I need to publish, how frequently should I publish it, how good does it need to be, what type of content assets do I need to deliver, and how much is this content plan going to cost. So those are the problems we're trying to solve and what a content plan really delivers to you. And so let's look at what are some of the ingredients of these content plans and the many, many hours it takes to find all this data and crunch all this data to answer those questions we just looked at. So there's certainly a keyword research phase. Keyword research does really define the optimization strategy for any content you're publishing on the web, or I would argue even outside the web. You need to look at your competitions and see how you stack up, how much content they're publishing, and of course you need to roll it all together and put it together. So the first thing is, of course, domain analysis and keyword research. I have a nice tight list here of some tools that we've used over the years to dig deeply into keyword research and try to find the golden nuggets of keywords, the longer tail keyword phrases that you can go after to more quickly achieve top listings in the search engines and deliver some results that your customers and yourself are demanding. Next, you need to filter down the keywords and try to come up with a core list of keywords. This was a project that we did some time ago. We actually looked at 156,000 keywords that we used those very keyword search tools that you see here. In this case, we used SpyFu to find all of the key organic keywords that customers were driving traffic to their competitors were driving traffic to their website. And we put all of those in a big spreadsheet and removed the duplicates, and then removed another 138,000 that for a variety of reasons we thought we did not want to focus on those, particularly with regards to content creation and the type of content budgets that this customer had to work with. So we ended up narrowing down what we call the keyword universe with about 3,600 keywords that helped us as a starting point to begin strategy development. The next thing we did is we put the keywords into groups, and this is very helpful because you can start to see the patterns they create, and you can organize the keywords, if you will, so writers creating content can see groups of keywords, not just a batch of 3,600 keywords, in the old school days of saying, here's a lot of keywords, go use them in all your content. You need to be more strategic and look at frequency of publishing keywords and basically organize your keywords by groups to track your market share. I'll talk about that later. So within each keyword group, we find it helpful to find some what we call golden keywords, which are often keywords a customer wants to hyper-focus on. But we also need some other keywords to get some victories on in case that customer is not doing that well for the keywords that they view as their most important keywords. We call these low-lying fruit keywords. And those are keywords where a customer's domain name has achieved the positions 11 through 50, we like saying, maybe 11 through 100, and they're trending upwards perhaps, so they have a chance to get in the top 10, which of course was where all the traffic comes from. So when you're grouping your keywords, you need to think about some variables, top PPC and top search volume and some other groupings. But here's the problem. You're left with a massive spreadsheet, and here we see some work we're doing with Writer Access. We've got a keyword universe. We've narrowed it down to about 1,000 keywords we care about. From about 5,000, we initially were thinking we could create content around. We've got our competitors in one tab, and then we've broken out our tabs with all of our keywords. And in each tab, like blog writing, content marketing, you can see some of these tabs barely, probably. Get out your magnifying glass, you can probably see that. But those are all tabs for the separate keywords in each nightmare, but in each of the groups. The problem is it's tough to work with this. How do you work with a writer on this? And that's one problem that I see. So next you need to dive into competitive intelligence, and of course there are a lot of research tools out there. Another spreadsheet with some logos of some of these that you may recognize, great list for you. But again, what you're trying to do with competitive research and analysis is to look at the page rank of all of your competitors and how many pages they have indexed, how many inbound links they have, how many content assets they've published, You need to look at a lot of stuff, and this begins to help you understand for how much content you need, and particularly looking at how well they're performing versus you. You can now start to put together the pieces, if you will, for how this can all come together. So you, of course, need to dive into the social media sphere and look at the volume of social media activity that's happening in total, as well as fan bases. But again, too much data, right? There's just way too much data to look at. So step 3, you finally need to recommend a portfolio of content assets that you think the customer should begin, working with. So, you, of course, look to a quantity required to capture market share. You start making recommendations on how many blog posts you need and articles and data sheets, again, to not only compete but beat the competition. And you need to estimate the cost of creating all those content assets. And this is a laborious process, but at the end of the day, you're left with some sort of expected ROI measurement for some content marketing investment. A lot of clients want to see that, very granular, like exactly how many new traffic will come to my website. But of course, there's a lot of ways to track conversion, as we've seen above. Improve conversion rates, stickiness of the site. Lots of ways to define ROI measurements. So it's not just one way to find ROI for a customer. But the problem is that ROI measurement can really be guesswork. Imagine that we were asked to spend sometimes 400 hours putting all this data together for a customer, where they're paying a fee for just the plan itself, but it tends to be a moving target. You don't know how difficult it is to improve and lift conversion rates, for example, until you get in there and start banging out content. And this was one of the great frustrations that we experienced as a full-service agency. We thought there must be a better way. So what we've basically done since we left our full-service agency days is, we kind of launched Writer Access, which you're all very familiar with, and pooled together, thousands of great writers, and we're able to attract thousands of great customers, and they've been using our platform and all as well. But we wanted to do something a little bit different, and so we've essentially launched WordVision technology and relaunched it to make it much more simple and easy. But when we think about content planning and content strategy, the core thing that we were really left with when we delivered these 70 to 150 page plans, we were basically left with the very list that you see right here. What are the keyword phrases? What are the keyword groups? What's the search volume? And what's the PPC, cost per click, for these keywords that I want to go after? And in the end of the day, this is what all of the strategy was built around, is finding these keywords. So if you can magically find these keywords, and companies like Jon can help you do that and develop a strategy, I think you're basically ready to go, and you're ready to start publishing content. So from my perspective, the goals of content marketing strategy and the goals, for content marketing in general are to very simply produce a lot of content, optimize that content, and look for quick ways to find ROI measurement with improved listing positions and increased traffic. And if you believe that to be the goal of content marketing strategy, there are many goals, of course, as I mentioned, but that's the core thing we were focusing on to really make this all work. So with content planning, the challenges are, how can I get my content creators aligned with the performance goals? Like, that's hard to do. You don't tend to put your writers, into your Google Analytics account. That's too scary, but maybe there's a way you can do it. How can you create fresh content and avoid duplication? Another real problem a lot of customers have. Writers, don't necessarily want to, reload page after page after page of a customer's website to read every single blog post they've ever done. They want a quick way to see what's going on, and they want to see how many content assets have really been created around particular keyword phrases. So, and then the next one is, how can I track performance and drive content strategy? And how can you get writers and SEO specialists and marketers all on the same page? So that was the challenge that we took on with content planning, and here's what we basically came up with. We think that we have a new tool that you can try out and see if you like it. It's actually free for up to 200 keywords, so it's very exciting with what we're trying to do. And what's even more exciting is this is really simple to set up, really simple. So in 5 or 10 minutes, you can be up and running and ready to go and start really being much more strategic in how you come up with ideas for content, how you look at the performance of the content you're publishing, and really manage the workflow. So check it out. We've got step 1. It's easy to set up and get started. You can drop in up to 5 competitors. I think you can actually jump in more than that, but you just simply put in their domain name. Then you load in your keywords, and you can get 200 keywords for free, or you can upgrade to 1,000 keywords or 4,000 keywords. And you can either upload your groups along with those keywords, or you can use our tools inside to drag and drop your keywords into various groups, which I'll show you in a second. Then you can put in your Google Analytics data and plug that right in. You can plug in, this is also API connections to Twitter and Facebook and WordPress. So we suck in all your past posts and pop those on an editorial calendar. And most importantly, you can choose who you want to log into this. And our plans over at Writer Access are to let our customers use WordVision for free, and let writers also log into WordVision along with customers for each individual domain name if they want, and establish a great relationship with writers they love, so writers can see what's going on and help customers with their optimization strategy. So next, you can create keyword groups. I mentioned this a little bit. So when you load all your keywords into WordVision, you can see them in the left column over here. What we're tracking is that asset column, which has a bunch of zeros in it now, is telling you all of the individual content assets that have used that keyword phrase. So we're beginning to correlate not just did I write an article, but how many keywords did I include in that article. The next thing we're doing is the score column, where our algorithm is recommending to you the best keywords to use for the upcoming content assets that you're creating, say next month. So we have an algorithm of the score that looks very closely at the trend of keywords, the pay-per-click price, and the search volume, and does some triangulation of that data to come up with an overall score of what we recommend you use to make it easy for writers to choose the best keywords for projects to, of course, get the best results for the work they're doing. The third step with WordVision is you can quickly see what you've published in the past. Again, this is running on a particular domain name, and it's tied into your WordPress account, your Facebook, and your Twitter account, so you can quickly suck in all of the posts. You can open up each of these and see which keywords you've used in each of these posts, when it actually published, and get a really good feel for what's going on. And the fourth thing, and the most exciting thing, and this is really what WordVision was designed to be used for, is you can actually start planning upcoming content. And you do that by adding, by developing what we call a content plan. So it's, you're creating a content plan for next month. And what you're doing is you're putting in, okay, what type of asset is this? What's the title of it? What are the instructions? What are the required keywords and additional keywords that I want to use? And what you do is you drag the keywords from that left column where it says keyword phrases. You drag those into that required keywords area, and it just kerplunks right in that area. So you can sort of optimize, you can maybe let your writers, create the ideas, and then you could get your SEO person in to drop in the keywords that should be used in that particular asset that you're recommending be created. You can assign an author that you want to get created. You can put a status if it's an idea, or if it's in production, or if it's already published, and you can pop it on the editorial calendar. So we've made this really simple and really easy. And you can actually export all of these content plans you're creating and import them right into Writer Access, where you can have your freelance writers work on the projects. So here's an actual plan that you can see a sample of. So you can see the type of asset, the title, the notes, the required keywords, what writer we want to assign this to over at Writer Access, what its status is, and what the due date is for this work to be created. So it makes it easy. You can see what's going on, and everybody can get on the same page. And best of all, on one hand, you've got all this content being created, but now you can actually see the performance of this content. I meant to put in that wrong slide. Sorry about that. Later I'll show you that slide on the right shouldn't be blank. But you can track performance in WordVision in a variety of ways. You can look at your competition. Again, you're going to see I have 1,000 keywords loaded into the system. I'm losing with one of my competitors for writer access constant content. I'm losing 132. By the way, John, I think I have you in here as well, and we can pull that up on the demo if you want. But
okay.
it's fun. So you can see your winners and your losers and the keywords you're overlapping. You can look at the market share, and this is where we look at each keyword group and whether you're ahead or behind your competition. With the copywriting keyword group, for example, we're getting killed by our competition, but you can start analyzing what's going on. And the little chart on the far right is kind of fun. It shows where are all the keywords that I have in this group? Are they greater than the top 100? Do I have some in positions 51 through 100, some in positions 11 through 50, and how many of them are in the top 10? And you can see it's sort of scattered. So I have some victories with some of the keywords in each of these keyword groups. But the point is, capture more market share and bang out more content and use the right keywords and hopefully, build internal link strategy as well and all the other fun stuff you need to do. So next, we've got Google listing position tracking. Every month we do SERP tracking in Google for all of these keywords, so we're building an archive for you for each of the domain names you have running in WordVision. We have position trend reports, which are fun, which show trends in the last 3 months and month-to-month basis. It also shows the number of content assets that I've created for each of these keyword phrases. So you can see that with cheap article writing service, we're now in position 14, up 186 points, but we've created 3 assets using that keyword phrase. So there's probably a reason that we've had some success with that long-term keyword phrase. Whereas content asset, for some reason, we dropped 1 listing position, but we've created 4 assets for it. So it allows you to sort of get granular and see what's going on. And then finally, traffic reports, we're sucking the data right in from Google Analytics, so we're showing you how many customers were delivered to your website for each month for all the keyword phrases. And there's all kinds of report options. You can do more digging into all of these. So that's really it. I wanted to give everybody that topographical overview today. WordVision is free for everyone, up to 200 keywords, so spread the word. And it's $500 per year if you want 1,000 keywords, and $700 per year if you want 4,000 keywords. And just so people know, that those are really costs that cover our cost to do the SERP tracking. That's what is hard for us to bring in. Another thing we did, which was kind of interesting, is you can bring your own data, your own pay-per-click price and search volume into WordVision, and it sort of archives that. We still track monthly listing positions for you, but if for some reason you're unhappy with the data that we're pulling from a variety of sources, SpyFu included, you can bring in your own data from your own source and upload that data. So therein lies my end of my presentation. There's a link to download a free copy of the book right there. If you don't want to wait until you get the free version of it, feel free to reach out to me at any time, and we're very excited to get reaction to both this presentation that John and I are giving and some feedback on WordVision if you go in and play around with it and to get a feel for it. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you, John.
Okay, great. Well, Byron, thank you so much for having me on this call. I think this is a super relevant topic, and I think we've all seen in the last 2 or 3 years how content marketing has really jumped a huge leap in terms of importance and relevance, and a lot of the tools that have come online, like WordVision, like some of the things that Idea Launch that has been producing over the past few years, really helps companies and individuals get their arms around content marketing and how to do this stuff consistently, high quality content, because let's face it, you've got a lot coming at you. You got a lot of demands on this content marketing thing, and you got to find ways to automate and leverage it so you can have the most impact and start reaching out to new audiences and new customers. So we're going to talk about content planning specifically and how you do that better over the next 15, 20 minutes. And I think we all kind of know what content marketing is by this point, but just want to reiterate what we're talking about. It really is creating and distributing relevant and valuable content to attract, acquire, and engage a clearly defined and understood target audience. Now, there's still a lot of companies out there, B2B especially, who haven't gotten their arms around this, right? So this is the first order of business is let's really appreciate and understand what we're doing here. We are providing content that people are going to love. that they're going to get something out of. We're not going out there and hawking our products and services, right? We are going out there first with content and producing it in a way that is going to get them to get engaged with your company. So other key points here, obviously you want to convert those prospects into customers with this content that you're developing. You want to utilize, opt-in permission, obviously, and use social media channels and RSS feeds and email and all the other channels or silos, if you will, to get it out there and become a valued resource for a lot of people, right? You want to really be that resource. So if you're a knowledge leader in your industry, great, let's maximize that through content. If you're not, well, there's a huge opportunity for you to do that. And last, of course, you don't want to just sell them once. You want to have this content keep working for you over and over again, so you really create a friend who enjoys buying from you for life through the content you're developing. So Byron touched on the types of content. I'm not going to go through this, but obviously there's a wide range of content types that you can create for a lot of different purposes, a lot of different audiences. I think the bottom line is just get started. If you don't have a blog, get a blog and start producing some great quality blog content, and then the list goes on down from there, right? Many questions. There's all kinds of questions around this new content marketing dynamic. What types of content do I need for my industry or my target market? How does content influence SEO? How can I use mobile content, to really capitalize on that channel? So there's a lot of questions that we have, and hopefully we're answering some of those questions for you today with this webinar. I also want to impart upon you the content life cycle. Really, there's 4 stages with this content stuff. Number 1 is the planning of it, right? And that's what we're talking about here on this call, strategy and planning, and that's absolutely the most important and first step. I wouldn't say maybe most important, but as important as the creation piece, which is next. The creation piece is the time-consuming piece. That's the one that really takes the time, and you got to dedicate the resources to get it done right. And then third is marketing and distribution, getting it out there, and getting it out there effectively, leveraging your channels, really capitalizing on that leverage and automation capability. And last, managing it, curating it. Do you have to get rid of content? Do you have some evergreen content that is going to be around forever kind of thing? You got to manage that day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month to make sure that your content is as effective as it was a month ago versus now and moving forward. And in my book, Content is Currency, which came out about a year ago, I talk about what I call the content marketing machine. And other folks have picked up on this concept as well, and I think that's great. But essentially, how do we create this perpetual, ongoing, super high-quality content marketing machine for your company? And really, it's 3 pillars that we're talking about. It's the content itself, clearly. It's the design, how it looks, how it's wrapped up, right? And then the usability, how people get around your site, how they navigate through. Is it easy to get to your social media profiles from your site or your blog? Is it easy to get to your mobile-friendly site from all those different channels? So those 3 are really the pillars that make up your content marketing machine. The considerations here on these is, number 1 is what types of content you produce. We covered that. How you put your content in front of your prospects and customers, how they engage with it, and then how you're supporting that content. Clearly you have to do more than just produce the content. You got to support it. You got to answer questions when people have questions. You got to be there and be present and interact with them. On your blog, for example, if you've got comments coming through on a new blog post, you got to be there in real time to actually communicate back to them and make it a real-time experience. And then there's really 3 channels. There's content that makes up your site and blog. There's the content you use for lead generation, right? Those are the white papers and the webinars, like the webinar today. And then third is the off-site content, those tweets on Twitter, the decks on SlideShare, all that type of stuff. So it's really 3 channels, 3 considerations, and 3 pillars that make up this total content marketing machine. So taking all this into consideration, knowing this is the end goal, how do we plan it? Top 5 methods. Number 1, analyzing your current content. What do you got? What is out there right now as we speak on your site, on your blog, your ebooks and white papers, your webinar repository? What do you have in terms of content right now? Now, for some of you, you may just have your website, right? Maybe you didn't start a blog. Maybe you don't have a mobile-friendly website. Well, at least that's a place to start, right? That's a foundation you can build off of. So number 1, you're taking inventory of all the content you currently have in place. Number 2, you're reviewing it for quality. Look at it objectively. Ask your customers to give you feedback. Talk to your employees and see what they think. Really get a lot of opinions on what people think of the quality of the content. Then review it for SEO, right? And using WordVision, Byron's tool, is going to be great for that. You can really find out what's going on here. Am I optimizing for my keywords? Don't forget about SEO. A lot of people are talking about the death of SEO or the it's not as important as it used to be. I say no. I mean, it's as important, if not more important now than it was 5 years ago. And number 4, analyzing the social marketing potential. Okay, so you've got your profiles on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn, but are you really doing much there? Are you pushing your content to those channels? Is that automated? You know, are you using tools to do that so that when you produce that blog post, is it getting pushed out immediately into, you know, Facebook and Twitter? A lot of companies still aren't there, so we need to talk about that. 5, rewriting or reworking the content to correct mistakes. So if you've got, you know, 50 pages on your site and none of them are optimized, or you're not using metadata correctly, we need to start there and really rework that stuff so that they're becoming effective for you. 6, brainstorming a list of additional content items you may need. I don't care if you're IBM, if you're Apple, Gap, Starbucks, whoever the company is, or you're some small startup. There's always additional content that you need to create. When you're in the content business, you are now a publisher, right? And every week, every month, every quarter, every year, you're going to have certain content things that you need to push out and get produced and get developed. So what are those, you know, top 10 content items, wish list, if you will, that you need to produce in the next 30 days? Get that list out there and really talk to your team and understand, you know, what are the priorities, what are our customers telling us we need, what's the competition doing? Are you looking at the competition? Are you looking at competitive blogs and seeing what they're blogging about? So that list, once you have that, that's going to be a great tool for you to use to create content ongoing. And this is a goal I like to mention in my events that I do and webinars because it really is true. I mean, the goal of all this stuff with the content planning is you want to create content that's going to be compelling to readers, actually get them engaged, right? Visible to the search engines, linkable to partners, shareable through social media, and transferable to mobile devices. Now, that's a lot, right? We're asking our content to do a lot for us. The last one is key because transferable to mobile devices, that's one that probably 50% of companies right now still aren't doing or aren't doing correctly. So if you don't have that mobile-friendly website, you might want to start thinking about that right now, today. What's the plan that you have in place to get that site that you have, you know, transferable and readable through smartphones? Because let's face it, that's a content channel too, and there's going to be a great opportunity to get leads through the mobile devices, especially in this day and age where we see more people using their smartphones to search than their desktop PCs, right? So that's a key statistic and something that's very relevant. Number 2, and Byron touched on this earlier, the keyword research. This will always be important, right? It was important 10 years ago. It was important 5 years ago. It's as important today because we have so much competition now, right? Everybody is on the SEO train. They're all understanding they got to do this stuff, and they're all optimizing their sites and their blogs and everything they're doing. So where do you start? Again, Byron covers some of these. Number 1, start with, you know, what words are potential customers using to search for you? Do you know? Survey your customers. Look at the reports. Look at the tools, some of the tools that Byron mentioned earlier. Measuring demand and competition, okay? Really looking at the data from a granular level. Keyword discovery and word tracker were 2 of the early tools. They're still very powerful. There's a lot of keyword research tools out there. But look at these. You can get a couple, you know, free trial subscriptions there for 30 days, I think, on both of them, if not, you know, a couple others that are out there. And do that. It's free. It's easy to do, and it's something that you can start today. 4th, Google AdWords keyword tool. That's a great resource, right? SEO Book's got a keyword list generator. There's a lot of places where you can do keyword research. Also look at your site search box and your web server log files. You know, what are people typing in that little site search box on your site? That can be a great place to get some keyword information. Aligning keywords with a customer buying cycle, right? This is kind of keyword research step 2. You know, it's like, okay, so if we've got different types of customers and we've got a buying cycle, how can we align our keywords with those types of buyers? So for example, you see this chart, the long tail keyword chart here on the slide. On the left we have the general keyword of camera. On the far right we've got the specific type of camera. So that's the long tail keyword. So if someone is searching for a Sony digital camera with those specs, chances are they're ready to buy, right? Because they're very specific. They know what they want. So if you're optimizing for that specific long tail keyword, you know what? You might be able to get that buyer to buy from your site. So really think about the customer and how they're buying and their behavior and aligning those keywords. This is a great way to plan your content from an SEO perspective. Keyword density and stemming, still important. Look at that. Make sure you're using the right number of keywords in the blog post, for example, or your page. Using keywords in the metadata and the page content both. Okay. Still, a lot of companies are not understanding the metadata for the pages and how you got to use your title tag in a certain way. So definitely do that. And then optimizing for the long tail keyword phrases, as we mentioned. Next would be generating those content ideas. A lot of companies that come to me and they say, gosh, we know we got to do this content. We've got some ideas, but we've kind of come to a brick wall. We've got a list of 20 things, but we know there's other stuff that we need to do. So I say, well, take a look at some of these resources. Google Trends is a great place. Type in a keyword phrase or your industry and see what's going on in your industry and see what you can, tie into in terms of news events, or, is there a new product or something in your industry that you can really tap into and build some content around, maybe create an ebook series around. Google Insights for search is great, Twitter search, Technorati charts, Blog Pulse, compete.com. There's a number of resources that you can use. Your customers, right? Ask your customers, hey, what do you think? What would you like to see from us? Would you be interested in maybe a webinar series on a certain product that we're doing, or maybe you want to know more about how to do something, how to build something, whatever the case might be. Maybe a series of YouTube videos, right? So there's a lot of places you can get content ideas. Bottom line is, once you have those ideas, then how are you going to prioritize them and start moving forward with development on those? This could be the most important thing I'm going to say on the webinar this morning. Segmenting your content types and flow. This is a great matrix put together by First 10 and Smart Insights. I think this showed up a few months ago. And I love how this really delineates and segments content by a couple different things here. Number one, on the top you see awareness and purchase. On the left side you see emotional and rational. And then in the middle here you see all the types of content based on whether or not they're entertaining, or they're educating, or they're inspiring, or they're convincing. And what is the goal of that content? What are you trying to accomplish, right? So look at this graph, really study this, and what I want you to do is overlay this chart with what you're doing currently for your company, or what could you be doing for your company in terms of content. I mean, you're going to pick up 3 or 4 ideas from this chart alone, and I think what's important and valuable about this chart is a lot of people don't think of content like this, right? They just think, okay, I know I got to add content, I got to connect with my customers, they got to read something if they're coming to my blog. But no, you take a step back, really look at this and see that you're doing certain things. You're trying to create certain actions from your customers and your prospects through that content. And if you do it right, you can really capitalize on that, and it can become super effective. Byron talked about the ROI of content earlier. I thought that was fantastic. You don't see that very much. But really, at the end of the day, if you're trying to convince the C-suite to get on the content marketing program for your company, you want to show the ROI, right? And something like this can really lead you down that path. So how do you do this, right? You got to organize the list you have into the content types. So you've got that list. Let's say you've got 50 items on that content list now. Okay, so overlay that list into this matrix and find out, where it fits in, right? And then you got to schedule it. And we're going to get to that on the next slide. But really understand the strengths and weaknesses of each content type. I mean, if you're looking at a celebrity endorsement, it's in the inspire and purchase category. That's very, very different than a guide or infographic in the lower left quadrant, right? So each content type has its strengths, and really maximize that based on what you're trying to accomplish for your company. So let me know if you have any feedback on this, any questions. I'd love to hear it. People love this matrix every time I show it, and I just think it's fantastic. So definitely some good stuff there. Last, you want to create your content plan, right? So you've got your list of content that you need to do. You've prioritized it on the matrix. You understand what you're trying to accomplish with that content. Now you've got to schedule it and calendarize it. You've got to put together a plan. And if you're a publisher of a magazine, you're doing this every day, every week, and that's really what you are, right? We've talked about how you are now a publisher. If you're doing content, you are now a publisher. I don't care if you're a B2B or B2C, or you're a retailer on a street corner, whatever the case might be. If you've embraced content, you've decided that it's going to work for you, and you're really going to start doing some inbound marketing, some content marketing, then you got to have a plan. You got to put some planning around it. So structure it using these key elements. This is a great little planner I found on Zazzle. There's a number of tools out there, but I think the important thing is to keep it simple and make sure you're touching this every day, every week, that you're looking at this all the time, that you're really planning it strategically. Because you want to ensure that you achieve the right flow, right? Flow is important. What are you doing when, and why are you doing it? So I think a good rule of thumb, third bullet here, combination of smaller pieces, right, and high impact pieces to get them working in unison. So you're not always going to be doing some high level, white paper series. You're going to be doing some smaller stuff, some entertaining pieces as well, in addition to the educational, more thought-provoking type pieces. And then you want to segment it, right, with the normal calendar in months and weeks and days. Let's face it, there's certain things you're going to do every week. There's certain things you're going to do just monthly, like maybe a monthly report to your customers. Certain things you'll just do yearly, like an annual report for your company. And then there are those things you'll do every day, like blogging, like social media. So at that point, then you got to consider what comes next, right? What are we planning 6 months from now, a year from now? I think one trap that a lot of companies get into is it's kind of just fly by the seat of your pants and what do we need to produce next week kind of thing, and there's no real planning around it. So if you get something like this in place and start being dedicated about it and really educating your team about it internally and building some kind of metrics around it, you're going to see some serious ROI come from your content activities. Byron wanted me to cover the top 5 mistakes as I see it as well, and I think we're not going to spend too much time on these, but I did want to mention them. So number 1, using only marketers to produce your content. I've talked about it a lot over the past couple of years in my speaking engagements that, and Byron mentioned it earlier, there's still a lot of agencies out there, traditional agencies especially, been around maybe 10, 20, 30 years, who are still kind of producing the TV ads and the billboards and the radio spots. And a lot of that stuff is, obviously some companies need that and it's important, but a lot of that stuff is, selling, advertising, but not really in the vein of inbound marketing or content marketing, producing that valuable added value content. So you don't want to just use marketers to produce your content or your agency. You want to lean on customers. Maybe you can get some customers, do some reviews, some testimonials. You want to lean on subject matter experts and thought leaders in your industry and maybe doing interviews with those thought leaders for your blog, for example. So be careful, and that goes right into point number 2, which is stay away from that corporate speak and the hawking of your products and services. That's so 10 years ago, right? I mean, and you still see tons of companies doing it. I mean, how many emails do we get a day saying, hey, buy our stuff, right? Or, please check out this new product we got and we have a discount on it. But, people are so sick of being sold to, right? We said it over and over again. So take a step back and really stop doing that. Again, it's about the content. It's about connecting with your prospects through that content. So third, putting quantity before quality. A lot of companies, they know they got to have a blog. And so they start producing all this blog content, but it's kind of like Me Too content. It looks like everything else out there. It's not really that interesting or engaging. That's a mistake, right? It's all about quality. If you can only produce 5 blog posts in the next 30 days, but they're all great quality blog posts, and that's fantastic. That's what you want to shoot for. Fourth is not optimizing for search, right? The SEO component that we talked about earlier. You got to stay on that. You got to understand what's going on in the search engines. Still very important. So make sure you look at that. And then 5, not setting goals, right? We talked about that with the content calendar and the matrix. What's your long-term goal here? What are you trying to accomplish with that ebook or that blog or the webinar, whatever you're doing? What's the ROI around that? So really setting goals and looking back and reviewing. Okay, did we accomplish what we set out to do here? Or did we just produce a bunch of content that didn't really do anything for us? So these are the top 5 mistakes I would say. But having said that, most of the companies we do business with, maybe you're just doing a couple of these. It's very rare that you're making all 5 mistakes, but it's something you need to keep in mind for sure. Now the rest of my deck goes through a lot of areas of my book, ensuring content impact on this slide. I want you to look at this later. We're going to obviously make the slides available to everybody on the call today, but we don't have a lot of time to go through all this stuff. Content hooks, important concept as well, your publishing schedule. There's distribution steps you want to follow as well. So again, there's a lot of great stuff here. I encourage you to look at this later when you have some time. Obviously, my book is out there. Feel free to take a look at it. Content is Currency. It's done very well, and I'm thankful that a lot of companies have got a lot of benefit out of it. And I do speak around the country on these topics as well. If you want to get a hold of me, feel free to. I think Byron will make this information available as well. But it's been great being with you. I hope this was interesting and informative for you. At this point, I think I'm going to give it back to Byron.
Great. Super job, John, really. We had some comments. People really loved the matrix that was put together by First Tenant Smart Insights. So thanks much. And your top 5 mistakes, I think you nailed it over there as well. Really, really great job with your presentation. Thanks much.
You got it.
So yeah, I want to get everybody back in tune with, here we go. Okay, looks good. Show my screen. Great. Okay. So hopefully everybody can see this. I wanted to, before I field a few questions, which interestingly enough were very much related to some agencies on the line that were asking, is this available for in an enterprise level version? Is this, can I access, I have 30 clients, 50 clients I'd like to put in this, and the answer is yes to all of those. As a matter of fact, I'm showing you the enterprise feature right here. You can sign up with an enterprise version of this and have master control over all these subdomain names and get as many customers as you wanted to running on their own separate version of WordVision. And then they could log in themselves and obviously only see their information. You can also get writers to log in, and I'll show you that in a second where it comes to user setup. But when you log into, I'm just going to give you like a 5-minute, very quick demo. It doesn't take, the beauty is this product has been around for about 4 years now, but we basically completely revamped it. It was built initially when we were a full-service agency to let more our in-house people go into this technology and do all the work for customers, but we wanted to flip that around. We're now sort of out-servicing customers and agencies and giving them, of course, a gateway access to our pool of screened professional writers, and now we're giving them a tool that says, hey, let's find a bridge for both writers and customers and let you manage all of this on your own. So you can set it up really quickly. You can add in your competition just by popping in their domain name. I mentioned all that. The user function is great. You can have just a writer login, which has limited, ability to screw up your keywords, and you can add people and take them off. The keyword grouping tool I mentioned a little bit. This is really, really cool. So you can create a new keyword group if you want and go into some uncategorized keywords and drag and drop those keywords into that particular category. You can open up the keywords and see the keywords that are in there. You can quickly see the score we're recommending for those keywords, or the total number of assets created for all the keywords that are, again, pulling from the integration with WordPress and Facebook and Twitter and all the fun stuff that you're connected with. So you can mess with your keyword groups, bottom line, and look at them and study them and kind of see what's going on. And you can also dig in. You can dive into each of the keywords individually by going in and doing data search. Let me look up blog, for example. Let me look at total assets created. I can look at blog post. Let me see, I'm used to a Mac, here we go. So you can dive in and actually see the details for each individual keyword. You can see the Google position, the pay-per-click price, the search volume, what keyword group it's in. You can see all the content assets that use that group. You can see a keyword cloud. You can see if any plans use that keyword. You can see some historic data. You can see some competitive history. So we're really giving you some pretty good vision, no pun intended, into each of the keywords that you have loaded into WordVision. So we won't dwell on that too much, but some good vision there. Here's the content planner, and this is what we hope people will actually use. So when you log into it, you can quickly add a new item, and you open this up, and here you go. This is going to be a blog post. I can pop in the title, some instructions that would maybe later be used for the writer to ascertain what you want. I can drag keywords into this particular asset and tell the writer, here's the required keywords and the additional keywords. I could assign this to a writer. I could put the status, is this an idea or is this in production? I could add it to the editorial calendar if I wanted to. Hit OK, and I could either save this plan or I could even export this plan very quickly. I can go in and look at saved plans and get a feel for different plans that have already been created in the past. Here's our February blog poster queued up. So I think everybody gets a feel for it. We want to make it easy to plan content. We want to give you the vision to see the keywords that you need to use to optimize that content. And that's basically what this tool wants to be used for. We, of course, have an editorial calendar. When you set up your API integrations, which are as easy as putting in your username and your password for like WordPress and the link to your blog, it will go in and suck out all your past blog posts, and it kind of tells you that it's a Facebook post or a Twitter post or here's a WordPress post. It actually brings in the image that was used. It tells you what keywords that you used and what date it was published. Just really, really simple, really easy to use. That's what we hope we've accomplished with our UX here. But the performance is why probably a lot of agencies were starting to get a little bit excited. We want to be able to show the impact of the content you're publishing. So here you're seeing how much content that I published. 150 total assets were published in this case. And that, by the way, includes, in the month of December, that includes blog posts, tweets, and Facebook posts. So it's totaling and aggregating everything to give you that particular data there. It's then monitoring your traffic every month pulled in from Google Analytics, and then it's looking at your improved listing positions as an aggregate with this particular chart. Next you can see that it's showing you everything you published in the last 30 days. It's the top visited traffic, most improved keywords. So, it's giving you some cool stuff. And this is the master report that we think agencies in particular will want to white label, just banging this out in a PDF form to give a snapshot with your logo on it. So that's what we're working on right now, is to just make that fast and easy to get out. But more importantly, a writer can go in and see how the site's performing. Let me show you some other performance things. I showed you a few, so we'll open it up to any questions anybody has. But the competition part is fun as well. I showed you this. Here's the wins and losses. Let me see if I have John in here with a battle with John. I can't remember now. I guess maybe I'm not battling with John. I'm not battling with you, John, so lucky you. Only platforms. John and I are in different businesses. John's doing things the full-blown way, full-service agency work, and I'm doing more things in the do-it-yourself marketplace model with Writer Access and some upgrades on that just for more service, but it's all in the platform. So, keyword groups are fun as well. This is sort of market share analysis. I showed you that. But it's cool. You can dive into each of the market shares and look how you're doing. Position history is cool. I showed you that quick chart. And again, these are all live. This is live data, so you can dig in and look at more details on a particular keyword and how much content you've published on that keyword. Here's some position trends, more live data, traffic trends pulled in from Google Analytics. You can quickly find your top traffic performers and see how many content assets you've published around those performers. So there you have it. That's sort of a quick view, but hopefully we've really stripped this down. We think that this would be a great tool for an assigned writer for this particular domain to go to and dig in here and propose some ideas that they want for upcoming content next month, and then let the client quickly say, okay, let's change that from an idea to an in production, and then boom, let's send it over and get it done. So that's where we're headed with this, and we think it's a great bridge between the writers over at over at Writer Access and customers that are desperately wanting to use this tool. So let me see if there's any questions that popped in. Hopefully I answered some of those agency questions that popped in. Let me see here. I work for a global company. Can you address how much approach content marketing in multiple non-English languages? John, you want to take that question?
So she's asking the importance of the non-English content. Is that kind of where we're at with that?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, well,
I'll read it to you again. I work for a global company. Hang on a sec here, let's say. Can you address how to approach content in multiple non-English languages?
Wow, great question. I've never had that question asked before. I would say first, start with the English. Obviously, start with the obvious. Get the English content right. Get the content planning and content marketing program correct and in place there. And then once you have that, you want to talk to your customers. You want to make sure that they're getting value out of it. Once you have that process in place with your English content, then I think it's just a question of transferring that to 2 or 3 other languages, whatever those two next languages might be. It might be Spanish and German possibly, or Chinese and French, whatever they are. I think once you get the English content down and the process down with that, then you can simply transfer it over to the other languages. Now, having said that, you want to make sure that the cultural differences and any language differences that need to be applied to that content are in place. And I would work with a local speaker or local copywriter in that country to make sure that all of the copy is correct and culturally correct before you push it out. Now, as far as the differences in content marketing in other places, in Asia and Europe, I honestly don't know. I think it's still in its relative infancy here in the U.S. I'm not sure what the impact is in other parts of the world, but that's a very interesting question. I think start there, and then once you get it in English and you have a good feel for the process, then it's just taking it to the next language, right?
Great answer. And by the way, there was a whole interesting webinar that I ran on, first of all, local SERP tracking, which is, in my opinion, the next big wave. But of course also, international SERP tracking and tracking listing positions. There are a lot of tools out there that do offer multi-country, tracking of particularly Google listing positions, and that's really the same. But John has it right. Content marketing works the same way. Chances are likely if you can simply, translate well, first of all, the first question on international is where is the home base for the country, for the company,
right?
John and I probably both assumed, rightfully so, that this was a U.S.-based company with markets in other countries, right? So that's the big footnote on that. I would suggest whatever the host and native country is where you should build your content marketing strategy. And if if it's not a U.S.-based company, I would build it in whatever country that's in, with your marketing teams in that country, with the ear to the ground, much closer to the customers' wants and needs. So that's an interesting question. So great job, John. So someone said, does WordVision solution integrate with Salesforce campaigns? Not currently, but you can upload both your keywords and your strategy and your campaigns into WordVision, whatever campaigns you're running. One of the reasons that we really wanted to build WordVision in a way that didn't necessarily tie us to any single individual SERP tracker or platform, so we made it very easy to just upload data. I'll show you an example of that since we're right here. If I go to account setup and I go to keywords, and then I go to, let me see here. Here we go, and I go upload keywords in the data. So you choose a file. So you could load in an Excel spreadsheet with keyword phrase, keyword groups, search volume, and pay-per-click price. I believe you can do the same now with loading up campaigns from any other platform. But we could look at the Salesforce integration. We actually subscribe to Salesforce ourselves, and we do a bunch of integration ourselves with our CRM. So send me a question if that's a hot need for somebody that has that concern, and we'll take a look. We do integrations here all the time to various platforms at Writer Access, so we can have a look. And I think I answered most of the questions. Keep any other questions you have coming in, everybody, but there were at least 4 or 5 people that wanted to know, we have 35 customers. Do you have an agency plan? Cost? Yes. Is there bulk pricing for multiple websites? Got a lot of, is there an enterprise version account where I can manage hundreds of clients? Yes, yes, yes to all of those. You have options for interactive agencies. And of course, somebody had a dental appointment, so that they had to go, but they were like, can I get a recording of this? And the answer is yes as well. So those are the questions that have come at us so far. Let me look at the bottom of the list here and see if there's anything else. I hate the way this works. That's it so far. So if anybody has any other questions, do fire them in. Otherwise, we're right at the 2 o'clock mark, which is perfect and a good time to end this. So, John, great having you on the presentation today. I want to thank you.
Appreciate it very much, Byron. It was a lot of fun.
Right on. So until next month, everyone, I hope your journey throughout the content planning world was significantly enhanced. Great advice from John, and hopefully you might give WordVision a try and see if it meets your needs. And if not, let us know, and we'll try to make it work. But until next month, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We're signing out. Thanks again.